Welcome to our brand new episode of Windows. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we'll be focusing on the leading role of Egypt in the field of sustainable development, not just for the future generations of this country, but for the whole region as well. And I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Engineer Mohamed Azzam, the board member of the International Association of Management of Technology. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on Windows, and a happy Eid.
Thank you so much, and always a pleasure being with you, and of course thank you for having me in this episode of Windows.
Anytime, the pleasure is all mine. First of all, as you are specialized in technology and digital transformation, the things that we have been witnessing here in the country for the past few years, what is the relation, what are the ties between technology and sustainable development for the future?
Actually, if you have a sort of sustainable development, you need to develop technology ecosystem.
Yes.
And couple this technology ecosystem with your economic and trade ecosystem. And you should serve both by public policies that favor the development of the economic and the technology ecosystem all together.
Yes.
This is the only way. And of course, since the COVID-19 outbreak and followed by the Ukrainian crisis, there is another term come up to the surface, which is resilient sustainable development.
Yes.
You cannot have sustainable development without being resilient. And of course, technology is the cornerstone of developing a resilient ecosystem that would help you to have a sort of sustainable development now and in the future as well.
What are the other elements that could be contributing to the resilient sustainable development for the future?
Actually, it starts again with the public policies. And of course, you need to have a resilient healthcare system.
Yes.
And as well, you need to have a robust, sound ICT infrastructure. We are totally dependent on the technology infrastructure to conduct our work, to provide public services to citizens and businesses, to be able to be connected all the time and to conduct trade. So having a resilient and robust ICT infrastructure is not becoming an option anymore. Then this should be followed by having a sort of investment in facilities and infrastructure. Facilities does not or do not include only the physical infrastructure, but also include investment in R&D or research and development institutions.
Yes.
Development in productive facilities, investment in technology to develop and own your own technology, because owning your own technology is the milestone of making the differentiation, is the milestone for being a competitive player in very competitive world ecosystem and global ecosystem, which is becoming very sophisticated and dynamic as well. Then you would be able to produce quality products and services. It doesn't matter now you have the state-of-art production facilities, but what matters is you able to produce world-class products and services that meets the international taste, not only the local or even the regional taste, because of the dynamics, because we are connected and the global system is becoming very sophisticated, and of course trade is becoming globalized, so you are competing against everyone actually on the planet, not only on the local level or the regional level. The technology or the notion of the fourth industrial revolution forced you to be either to be a global competitive country or enterprise, or you will be left behind. This is because of the fast pace of the technological development that makes everyone be able to use and consume this technology for producing quality and world-class products and services. Then you need to have a sort of connected economic clusters. you cannot depend only on big enterprises, large enterprises,
Yes.
but also you need to have a platform for including small and medium enterprises and even micro enterprises. But you cannot leave them in vacuum. You cannot leave them comforting the business climate because they are very fragile enterprises by nature.
Yes.
So you need to have a mechanism for connecting them within the value chain. And within this value chain, each stakeholder has a role as well as has a sort of benefit. So you need to build this kind of connected economic clusters and to encourage such smaller enterprises to have a role, because they are the driver actually of any economic development. They are representing 40% of the business worldwide, and
Yes.
they are contributing they are representing 80% of the businesses, and they're contributing to 40% of the global GDP and 50% of employment. So they are a key player within any economic
And
system.
how much do they contribute here in Egypt?
Almost we are following the same
enterprises.
norm. However, there's a direction for having more small businesses and medium businesses that could contribute up to not only to 50% of the employment, but it could reach 70% of the employment, and it could reach like also 70% of the national GDP, which is very important because they are very agile and they are capable to make fast moves, and they would be able to open horizons for more job opportunities, which is a very important aspect, especially with the current economic and geopolitical climate that we are facing from COVID-19 and to the Ukrainian crisis, and now for the very hard situation in our beloved neighborhood Sudan. So this needs a different mindset. This needs a different vision for including such smaller enterprises within a larger ecosystem and connect them with the larger players within the value chain, because this would help them to be able to produce quality products, and they would be able to export their products and services not only to the regional market but also to international market. So you need to teach them how to produce quality products, and of course technology is already there in every step within this value chain. By having such new economic clusters, new connected economic clusters, you would be able to increase your exports as well as reduce your imports. And this is another lesson we had from the Ukrainian crisis and COVID as well. Countries now are thinking of having self-resilient economic and social ecosystems.
Yes.
Because we've seen the huge disruption in the value chain and the supply chain all over the world from this kind of global crisis that are taking place, and we are witnessing how harsh they are on each economic system on the planet. So countries are thinking now of having a sort of self-resilient ecosystem, and if they can
To be protected from the outside world or
and
the
you can,
outside circumstances.
Definitely, and you lessen the risk related to the global supply chain disruption. And of course, having a sort of regional resilient ecosystem, it could be another inflection point when we've seen this all over the last few years since the outbreak of the virus. So changing mindset is very important. Having a different vision is very important. The ability to see the big picture and connect dots together in this new world order is very important. And of course, if you achieve this, you will have a sustainable, resilient ecosystem that would help you to absorb any shocks, and of course would be able to grow within this uncertainty that we haven't seen since the Second World War, actually.
Yes, the resilient, sustainable development that we are aiming for here in Egypt and for the whole region as well. One of the main contributors to it, as you mentioned, is the small and medium enterprises. And you mentioned, Engineer Mohamed Azzam, that we are succeeding in gaining the same amount of success that everyone else in the entire world is getting through the small and medium enterprises. But what is the difference between the medium enterprises and the micro enterprises? Because this means that they need smaller funding.
Definitely, there's a lot of definitions of what kind of small the company is, and or the definition that depends on the turnover, it depends on the number of staff members, it depends on the capital invested in such companies. And recently there a very clear definition by the new small and medium enterprises law that actually was articulated almost a year ago. So the definition is clear, and of course to help such smaller enterprises, you, as a country, you are providing them with a lot of support.
Yes.
Not only the financial support. Financial support, of course, is very important. You are favoring giving loans at reduced interest rate for such businesses, but also you are providing them with a lot of non-financial services that include training, that include a sort of mentorship, including connecting them to the other key players within the value chain, having a sort of business-to-business matchmaking. Connecting dots within this area is a critical element for having a successful implementation of such ambitious plans, for sure.
You've also mentioned that the infrastructure is a very important point regarding reaching the sustainable development and the resilient sustainable development for the future. The infrastructure that we are having nowadays in terms of building new cities, building a new capital, constructing a new capital, having all those things happening at the same time simultaneously, but also in terms of the technology infrastructure. How do you assess the situation nowadays for Egypt?
Actually, we are progressing on this file very much. It's very obvious, because you cannot have a sustainable, robust, resilient trade system unless you have infrastructure, physical infrastructure.
Yes.
Modern roads, modern logistics hubs, modern sea and airports. So you cannot be a global player while you have outdated infrastructure.
Yes.
This kind of infrastructure will never cater any progression, or will never cater any kind of development you are seeking on both social and economic levels.
Yes.
So this is part, but also is very important. We've seen a new law for incentives, for having a sort of incentives in when it comes to scientific research, especially the applied research. We've seen a lot of initiatives that are taking place now in developing in country state-of-art and very advanced technologies, that including the artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is booming all over the world, and it's changing the landscape of every aspect of our life, or on the personal level and the business level as well. We've seen a lot of application that coming through and changing and disrupting the whole process. We've seen now also a will and a direction for investing in green tech or green energy when it comes for having new sort of renewable energy, for decarbonizing buildings, for minimizing the carbon footprint of different industries, or what's called the green transformation of industries. We've seen this during the COP27. We attended so many sessions that are talking about this kind of investment, and there are a huge investment funds allocated for such kind of initiatives, especially for renewable energy based on the hydrogen, based on the solar cells. And of course, this is very ambitious plans, because if you be able to more dependent on renewable energy or increase the portion of having renewable energy within the matrix of your energy system, this of course would help you to even have a better position when it comes to environment, as well as you will be able to attract more investment in such domain, because everyone in the world is looking for investment in such domain that based on pure technology. When it comes to renewable energy, energy is very important sector within any economy, and of course having a great portion of such energy coming from renewable resources, this would be a great achievement for the country and for the region, and definitely and ultimately for the whole world.
You've mentioned a very important term is that we need to be owning technology. Do we have the mentalities? Do we have the mindsets? Do we have the support financially to be doing that, the human cadre as well?
We are starting actually in this, but of course only the technology will make the difference. This will make the leapfrogs actually. If you look at what happened or what made the US economy the largest economy, or what made China the second largest economy, you can find the technology over there because they owned the technology. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies, the big fives that almost each company is more than 2.5 trillion US dollars.
Yes.
Out of them are technology firms that started as startup almost 40 years ago,
Yes.
or maybe less. And this made this country's great. This made this country able to export their services to all over the world and to have huge impact on our lives and in our businesses. And of course the form of return is very remarkable. The company's market cap is trillions of dollars, and they are making hundreds of billions as revenues. Some of these companies are making revenues more than GDP of even countries.
Yes.
This is very phenomenal.
On the other hand, you mentioned that the economy is one of the main contributors to the resilient sustainable development for the future generations, not just for the country but for the whole world as well. How do you assess the situation economically here in the country that could be leading to sustainable development, and as you mentioned as well, being protected from the outside circumstances that are going on outside of the country?
Definitely, you are progressing in the field of renewable energy.
Yes.
And on building smart infrastructures that includes smart cities. And of course, you are developing now your transportation system, your air and sea ports system to be cater the modern changes and to be able to meet the international standards. Very important. And of course, there are a lot of initiatives that are taking place in the domain of renewable energy. Yes. For building solar farms, for using wind farms, especially in Red Sea zone, for producing almost like more than third of your energy requirements from sustainable resources.
Yes.
So this is one direction is very obvious, and of course there are a lot of initiatives to support startups in very advanced domains that include artificial intelligence, for example. We have a lot of great startups that are doing really good job when it comes for owning a technology in this domain, and also in the fintech, one of the very promising technology domains, and
yes.
attracting a lot of investment. One of the Egyptian startups was able to attract more than $340 million US over the last 12 months, which is very remarkable, and Forbes considered them one of the best 10 startups in the region. Of course, you are progressing in the domain of connecting or having applications for artificial intelligence.
Yes.
In the domains related to water management, in the domains related to agriculture, to manufacturing, because as I said, It's doesn't matter you having the state-of-art machinery. What is needed is to have state-of-the-art products and services that meet the taste of the international market, and this is couldn't be achieved and accomplished unless you utilize technology to the maximum. And this is the beauty of the fourth industrial revolution, and we should have a say or a part or to be one of the contributors to the development of the fourth industrial revolution and even beyond the fourth industrial revolution.
To be getting the best out of technology in terms of finance and the economy in specific, because we have seen over the past couple of years more focus within the Egyptian Republic to be having more digital transformation for the banks, for the citizens, for the people in general, to be doing everything online, even their finances. How do you see the technology that is being applied for the finances and the financial sector in general here in the country?
I think we are progressing very well. Look at the percentage of the financial inclusion. It was like 35% almost a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Now we are talking about more than 50%. That's because of the technology, because you have a mobile and you can open a mobile wallet and use your mobile wallet to receive money and to pay through your mobile wallet.
Yes.
So without having the proper ICT infrastructure, we won't be able to achieve such a huge improvement within the sector. Now we've seen the application launched by the Central Bank of Egypt,
Yes.
NestaPay, and most of the people are using this because it's very convenient and it's very easy to be used. The mobile wallet, as I said, the banks are providing now services online almost in every single aspect related to your account, either it's an individual account or a business account. And also we are witnessing a great development when it comes to the provision of public services through a Digital Egypt platform. We have like 7 million subscribers and users using the platform now, and they are having a sort of, or they made something like more than 35 million transactions over the last few months, and this number is increasing every day. Last month, for example, it was 6 million subscribers and almost less than 30 million transactions. So everything is progressing actually, because it's a journey. You started, but it will never end. And every day you add something, every day you innovate something, and the more you innovate, the more you make the provision of service is more flexible, more I would say convenient,
Yes.
easier. The Egyptians, the citizens and the businesses will consume this kind of services. This is a key here. Having an easy way to provide the service is not sophisticated. Everyone can go and have the service, has the service without any complication. You don't need huge digital literacy to get the service. This is the beauty of innovation here. That's why you need always to have a sort of redesigning, re-engineering the service to meet the new medium, which is the technology medium and internet medium.
If we can compare Egypt to other countries in the region, in the Middle East, or even in the entire world, how do you see the quality of services that is being provided for the citizens through the fintech or the financial services online?
Actually, you are progressing again according to the international reports.
Yes.
You are moving from having a digital transformation to have what's called government tech. Government tech is more, it's having a sort of communication between the government as provider of the service and the citizens and the business as the consumer of the services.
Yes.
So it's bi-directional thing now. And of course you are utilizing more artificial intelligence in this domain to make the service easier. And of course you are having a sort of feedback loop and system to have the feedback from the citizen and the businesses, and to embed such feedback into the system again, to having more advanced and easier way of service, and even have more services in a convenient way. This is the way it goes. So as per the international reports, you are progressing, you are heading towards the government tech, which is the highest level when it comes this kind of provision of such services.
Yes.
So it's very clear, because it's a journey. It starts and never ends.
In terms of the resilient, sustainable development that we are aiming for, how do you see the importance of an initiative like a decent life, Haya Karima? Because it is not just about giving money to the people living in the rural areas or the villages of Egypt, or about 50% of the population of the country. It is more about giving technology, supporting technology, giving the internet access, water, sewage. How do you see the importance of the Decent Life Initiative in this field to be leading to sustainable development for the future?
Again, according to the international reports by the UN and the World Bank and so on and so forth, Haya Karima, or Decent Life Initiative, is one of the most inclusive initiatives that are taking place all over the world.
Yes.
Because as you said, you are not only providing housing facilities or having clean water or better sewage system,
Yes.
but also you are availing a lot of opportunities to the people in rural areas, that including having a sort of small business, and equip them with technology, because this, you'll be amazingly astonished that the way people will consume the technology and innovate with this kind of technology. When they have it, it will be amazing, and it will be really outstanding. Because we don't know how people could innovate if they have the right tools. That's why part of Haya Karima, or Decent Life Initiative, is to equip people in rural areas with high tech, with fiber optics, and give them a sort of digital literacy programs to help them and encourage them to utilize more technology, availing more micro opportunities for conducting their own business, and to establish their own very small business, and help them with the financial resources, help them with the technical resources. So it's very inclusive, 36-degree initiative. We are not talking here about just having nice buildings for our citizens in rural areas, but also you are changing the landscape on both social and economic level. This, of course, including the provision of health services, better educational services, better financial services, better training services. So it's very dynamic, it's very inclusive initiative for sure.
On the other hand, what is the importance of building new cities all over the country? More than 20 new cities, like New Alamein, New Mansoura, New Ismailia, New Aswan, and the new capital, the new administrative capital. What is different about those new cities technologically?
Actually, cities are aging like human beings, exactly.
Yes.
And of course, to face the global phenomena of urbanization, or moving from rural to urban areas, you will be astonished that almost 75,000 cities or people, individuals, are moving from rural to urban areas every day, all over the world. And you cannot cater the growth of population, you cannot cater the higher demand for better services unless you have smarter cities.
Yes.
Less polluted, more convenient, easier to provide the service, everything is connected. This is not a luxury anymore. Smart cities, or the fourth generation cities, are not part of having a luxurious thing.
It's a must.
It's becoming a must, not here in Egypt only, but also all over the world. That's why you can find a lot of initiatives that are taking place all over the world, even in advanced economies like the United States, the European Union. to advance their cities as well, to
Yes.
becoming smarter, because having smarter cities that will help you to protect the environment, to avail a lot of opportunities for attracting different kinds of investment, to be able to have more advanced industrial sectors. So it's very connected, is very interconnected, and without having the smart infrastructure for having a smart city, it would be very hard to be part of the global economic system. So this is not an option anymore.
All those efforts that we have spoken of during the episode of Windows for today by the government to be building a new capital, to be constructing new cities all over the country, the Decent Life Initiative, the healthcare, all those initiatives made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the political leadership in general. How do you see, on the other hand, the perception of the citizens of the financial technology, the technology in general, the Decent Life Initiative? Do you think that they are embracing the idea of technology? As you mentioned, that they need some kind of mentorship to be understanding what is going on, what will be happening in the future. Do you think that this is happening?
I think so, because the numbers shows that we are almost 100 million, 70% of them are on the internet, and 50% of them on social media.
Is this an advantage?
Of course, because we are using technology if it's convenient. We have like 50 million Egyptians are using e-commerce platforms.
Yes.
They are spending 10 billion US dollars yearly on buying things online.
Yes.
So, and of course, this shows that Egyptians are using the technology if they see the value and if the technology is convenient. And as I said, if the technology is convenient and the provision of service is very easy, definitely people will go and consume such services. And it's very important for increasing the overall competitiveness indices of the country and improving the competitive indices of the country. This will be reflected on you in the international reports, and of course this will give you a different, better position when it comes to the investment mindset or the investment perception, because the investors are seeing such international reports all the time. And of course this kind of initiative, this kind of producing the technology and consuming the technology will help you to have a better position in almost every single indices when it comes to competitiveness. And of course this will change the mindset of how Egypt is becoming more modern, more equipped with the 21st century tools. And of course this will make you able to be a player in the global arena. That's how it comes, and technology is all there. It's there and it will be there, and the more we go forward, the more we're going to depend on the technology. And of course by owning the technology, this will make a huge difference.
Yes, and finally, after depending on more technology for the future here in the country, how do you see the upcoming steps that we need to be adopting in terms of the government and the people or the citizens to be embracing more technology for the future in the country for the resilient, sustainable development?
You need to see, actually you need to forecast the technology. You need to keep an eye on the emerging technologies, because technology is changing all the time and it's changing the landscape of everything around us. So the public and private leaders should keep an eye on the progression of the technology all the time.
Yes.
And see the impact of such emerging technologies, how they could improve the competitiveness of your enterprise, either it's a public enterprise or a private enterprise.
Yes.
And how to employ such technology in making you more resilient. And of course you need to train your people on how to use the technology. And on the other side, and in parallel track, you need to think of building such emerging technologies in-house. That's why that you need to spend more on R&D efforts. And R&D efforts all over the world are led by the private sector, not the government, by the way.
Yes.
75% of the R&D efforts are conducted and carried out by the private sector. This is in China or in the States or European Union. And that's why the government role in R&D efforts is to be the regulator, the enabler, to be the first customer for the new technologies. And we've seen this in many incidents in United States, in Japan, in Korea, in China. And of course, to help the private sector to inject more funds into the R&D efforts to be competitive, because the private sector wouldn't be competitive unless they are using the state-of-the-art technology in producing quality products and services to their client base.
Yes, Engineer Mohamed Azzam, the board member of the International Association of Management of Technology. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on Windows.
Always pleasure being with you. Thank you so
Anytime.
much.
The pleasure is on mine. And this brings us to the end of Windows for this week. Thank you for watching and goodbye.